Hello, so it's me back again, Samuel J. White. This is me talking about my series Derailed and Dispersed. Now, the idea for this story came up to me several years ago. It was a mixture of several different things. I'd already been working on books about witches and monsters and stuff like that, but I couldn't really put together what I wanted to do with it, and there was some other stories which are going to be linked to this one as well. But when I was driving across the Acle Strait in Great Yarmouth, or towards Great Yarmouth, between Great Yarmouth and Acle, there's this huge marshland where you just drive straight across it for several miles at a time, and it's just straight, and there's miles and miles and miles of just marshland either side, and a railway which runs up the middle of it with the road. Now, I had to cross there in the dark several times because my brother-in-law, who lived on the other side of it, is disabled and his staff were not treating him very well, and I was having to rush over there to go and sort them out every single day at one point, doing these huge trips, and I was making up stories in my mind while I was driving across it. What would it have been like if the road wasn't there, if it was back in the days when no mobile phones, or cell phones as you call them in America? What if you were stuck out there? And then I put, what if these witches and wizards and monsters and stuff like that were all out there too, and people were scared and running for their lives? So then I found this old piece of schoolwork about some two friends, Jessica and Mandy, who were out in the middle of nowhere, and they came across a haunted house, and it didn't really finish, but I thought they were the two characters that I wanted to use for this story. And then they became the leaders of this group of salespeople who were travelling on the train, and the train crashed in the middle of the Acle Marshes, Halvergate Marshes. It's sort of two different names for them. However, when I first got these two characters, I started to think of other characters who could be out there who were with their group, and then I came up with a full 20 plus characters, and then I end up that there's so many things going on that one person couldn't have known all of the things, so they ended up telling the story from multiple perspectives. So you get further and deeper into each character. They're coming back years later, 20 years afterwards, to tell their stories. This is happening in the end of 1999, back in the times where they couldn't just call someone on their cell phones or their mobiles, because these devices, we had them, but they just didn't work out there in those days. So now they're stuck out there. There's people missing, people dying. There's a girl who's had her leg basically almost ripped off. There's another one who's been captured by a monster which just came out of the darkness. There's a pregnant woman who's going into labour in the middle of nowhere, and they need to help her, and her husband is missing in action, and then they're all starting to feel that there's something going on out in the darkness. And then there's this mysterious girl who one of them had spoken to earlier in the day, who could touch people and be able to just tell things about them by touching them and know their future and their past. And she's on the train too. And it's one of the books, there's so many things going on that I can't tell you about it in the short time that I have to do this video. But it's only been out a short amount of time, and it's getting good reviews on it so far. I mean, not many people have read it so far. But again, the third part of it is coming out in October. I can show you the covers here, and I will give some links to the book as well in other posts. Hopefully Facebook will show them, but if I put links to the book in this post, it won't be seen. So enjoy After the Derailment. Sorry, it's used to be called After the Derailment. I mean Derailed and Dispersed. The first part is part 1. Obviously it's part 1. Stupid, it's been a long day. It's called Stranded in the Wilderness, and part 2 is out now. It's called The Monsters of the Dark. and part 3, currently titled The Burning of the Innocent. They'll be showing on the screen now, and I'll be putting a few pictures up, and then I'll be moving on to my next book to tell you about, which is A Midwinter Night's Dream, The Broccoli, Stilton and the Haystack, which was my first book.